Nothing jumpstarts the season like planting the seeds early indoors of your summer favorites. It's not nearly as daunting as it's made out to be, and virtually everyone can be successful with it. However, there does seem to be a laundry list of errors that are routinely made every year, turning off new growers from gardening entirely. Which is a total shame, because starting your seeds early indoors can give you some of the biggest advantages to achieving a successful season. So today, I've picked out the top 8 mistakes that you can make when starting your seeds early indoors. Avoid these 8 blunders and you could be in for your best gardening year yet. Seed starting early indoors can be a great tool towards growing a successful garden. And in some cases, when you've got climates like mine, it's a complete necessity. Winter is a real and present influence for us temperate growers, and without the head starting of our seeds early indoors, some of our summer crops would not be possible. This head start allows us to grow those crops that have a larger summer growing window than our climate allows. But it's only beneficial if we can time it right. Too often, eager seed starters begin the process too early, resulting in overgrown, stressed out, and weakened seedlings that are unsuitable for transplanting. Too late though, and that early head start along with the extra growing time is totally negated, making the process kind of a waste of time. 4 to 6 weeks prior to the last spring frost date for your area is the general rule for most crops. Outside of this timeline is the number 1 mistake to avoid. Next up, we've got the soil, or more accurately, avoiding the wrong soil. I get that stores sell specialty soils at crazy marked up prices, and some are a pure cash grab, if not an outright gimmick. However, seeding soils are a bit of a different beast. A good seed starting mix should be light, fluffy, airy, well drained but retain moisture, be of a neutral pH, contain no impediments, and be relatively inert. It can be expensive to buy, yes, but this is why we grow in those little plug trays first to eliminate any costly wastage. Once you expand your operation and you start to grow more than just a few crops, you can make your own seed starting mix, and it's quite easy. There's only 3 ingredients: coconut fiber, perlite, and vermiculite. Gardening can be costly, but only if you let it be. Planting at the wrong time in the wrong soil type are definitely important mistakes that you want to avoid. But so is planting your seeds at the wrong depth. Too deep, and the seeds of certain crops can have trouble finding their way to the surface after they sprout. In some cases, you'll find that the seeds just sit there and rot if they're planted below a threshold depth. Planting too shallow, however, can also be an issue, causing anchoring and moisture problems for those delicate seedlings. When in doubt, simply refer to the back of the seed packet for that crop for all the planting instructions you'll ever need. A good soil with the right planting depth can make all the difference in creating the perfect germination environment. And in reference to that moisture, the relationship that plants have with water through any stage of their life is super important. But with seedlings, it's mission critical. Too wet, and the seeds, as well as the seedlings, can easily rot or have damping off problems. Too dry, well, that can be even worse. And this is where the proper mix comes into play. Moisture has to be available for the plants at all times, but not so wet that it actually displaces the oxygen within the soil. Yes, water is the lifeblood of all of our plants, but this is one of the cases where there can definitely be too much of a good thing. While most of our focus has been on the action below the soil, above can be just as important. One key environmental parameter is air motion and air circulation, which becomes super important for young plants that are grown in such high humidity in such close quarters. Seedlings, And young plants that are grown indoors with stagnant air and a relative high humidity are really susceptible to mold issues as well as damping off. Outdoors and for the rest of the season, this rarely becomes an issue, so it's quite easy to forget as the season is just starting. A small fan to gently but consistently rotate the air, as well as watching the plant density, is the solution here. And it goes without saying that no more than a week or so after germination, make sure to remove all your covers and domes. When caring for plants, especially when they're young, us gardeners always feel like we need to be doing something. And this is for new growers and veterans alike. This is certainly the case when it comes to our fertilizing, much to the detriment of our seedlings. Usually in the case of too much too soon. This is because the seeds of our newly germinated seedlings contain all the food that the plant needs, at least for the first week or so. It's why seeding soils are virtually inert. And even after that, despite growing their first true leaves, the nutritional requirements of seedlings is a fraction of the adult plant. Whatever we do, feeding must be gentle and dilute in the seeding stage, as well as balanced. Organic, liquid feeds once every 2 to 3 weeks, watered in from below, are all that your plants need. Those seeds and the seedlings to follow are amazing though, and germination never gets old. And lucky for us, it's not too difficult, as it's purely a function of moisture plus heat. We've covered water and moisture from all sides, so let's talk temperatures. Summer crops, certainly the ones we'd be starting early indoors, enjoy a germination temperature range of 80 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Higher than this, and there's a chance that we could actually cook the seeds. But any lower, and the germination time takes too long, increasing the chances that something could go wrong. It really is the sweet spot, and it's easily maintained with heat tape, heat cable, or these dedicated gardening heat pads here. That's only one side of the temperature equation though, because for as much as the seeds love to germinate in that temperature range, once they get their first set of true leaves, well, the temperatures have to be dialed back. Keeping your seedlings too high for too long is going to result in specimens that are weak, lush, and nearly impossible to transplant. Mid to low 70s once you're 2 to 3 weeks out of germination and you've got 2 to 3 sets of true leaves is the ideal range. And this leads us to our 8th and final mistake that growers often make when seed starting, and that's too little light. Right from when those first shoots emerge, before they even get their true leaves to take advantage of it, they begin looking for light. The initial leaves after germination are known as cotyledons, and they're not really leaves at all. They're basically embryonic vestiges, and it's debatable whether or not they even photosynthesize. However, in most crops, you'll start to see the true leaves appearing out of the center within about a week or so. At this point, for every crop of onions, your seedlings are going to need 14 to 16 hours a day of full spectrum light. Not enough light hours or too little intensity is going to result in long, leggy, weak seedlings that are constantly searching for light. This most definitely weakens their overall state of being and makes them generally poor specimens to transplant out in the garden. Commercial and retail grow lights have come a long way in the last few years, both in terms of cost as well as quality. Having said that, don't discount the benefit of a good sunny windowsill. Sometimes simpler is better, and the more successful seed starts you get under your belt, the easier it becomes. But that was a lot of info. Let's go ahead and recap those main points to make sure that they all stick. Seed starting early indoors can be a daunting task if you're new to the game. In the quest to get everything just right, sometimes it's the most obvious things that are missed. Avoiding these 8 mistakes, however, should set you up for immediate success. And hey, if there's a particular crop that's giving you trouble, leave a comment down below and we'll see if we can't get it solved. In the meantime, happy growing, guys, and I'll see you soon.